You ever wonder what really separates the truly wealthy and influential people from, well, everyone else? It's not just luck. It's not just talent. It is a blueprint. It's a literal operating system for success. And today, we're diving deep into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But this isn't just another book summary. We're going to treat this as the foundational code that the world's top performers use to build lasting wealth, real influence, and a life that actually means something.
So let's get real for a second. Why is it that some people, some entrepreneurs, build these empires that last for generations, while others, they hit a quick jackpot and then it just vanishes as fast as it came? The answer, and this is the key, lies in where they focus their energy. Are they building their life and their business on a foundation of solid rock, or are they just building on sand? That's the core question we are going to answer right now.
You see, Covey says there are basically 2 paths you can take. The first path is super popular. It's called the personality ethic. This is all about quick fix techniques, social image, charm. It's like cramming for a test. Sure, you might pass, but did you actually learn anything? Did you grow? Nope. The other path, the more powerful one, is the character ethic. This is built on timeless principles like integrity, authenticity. Covey uses a great analogy. It's like farming. You can't fake a harvest. You have to actually plant the seeds, water them, cultivate the soil, and do the real work. There are absolutely no shortcuts.
And this brings us to what might be the single most crucial point of this entire framework. True, lasting success, the kind that builds real wealth and influence, is an inside-out process. You can't have the fruits without the roots. Think about it. So many people try to improve their relationships, their teams, their businesses without ever looking in the mirror and improving themselves first. It just doesn't work. You have to win what Covey calls the private victory, mastering yourself, before you can ever hope to achieve the public victory, which is working effectively with other people.
Okay, so let's get to work on that foundation. Part 1 is all about that private victory. These first 3 habits are designed to move you from depending on others to being truly independent. They're about mastering the single greatest financial asset you will ever have, which is you. This is about becoming the CEO of your own life.
So habit 1 is the key that unlocks everything else. Be proactive. The power of this idea was really discovered under the most extreme circumstances imaginable. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi death camps, realized that no matter what they did to him, no matter the stimulus, they could not take away his freedom to choose his response. And that's it. That's the whole game. Proactive people understand this. They own that space between stimulus and response. They are the architects of their lives, not the victims of their circumstances.
So what does this look like in the real world? It all comes down to focus. Reactive people, they waste all their time and energy on their circle of concern, things they can't change, like the economy, politics, what other people think. Proactive people, on the other hand, focus all their energy on their circle of influence, the things they can control, their skills, their attitude, their actions. So instead of complaining about a difficult boss, a proactive person thinks, okay, what does my boss need? They anticipate those needs, they provide solutions, and pretty soon they've expanded their influence and become indispensable. They change their approach, and that changes everything.
Okay, so once you accept that you're the driver of your own life, habit 2 asks a really critical question. Where are you going? This is the habit of vision. And Covey asks us to do this kind of intense but incredibly powerful visualization exercise. I want you to just imagine your own funeral for a second. What would you want your family, your friends, your business partners to say about you? What kind of character would you want them to remember? What contributions? What achievements? Seriously thinking about that reveals your deepest values. It defines your end, and from that moment on, everything you do can be measured against it.
And this is where Covey just hits you with this brilliant distinction between leadership and management. So many of us are so busy, right? We're climbing the ladder of success, we're working hard, we're being super efficient. But habit 2 forces you to stop, look up, and ask, is this ladder leaning against the right wall? Leadership is making sure you're pursuing the right goals. Management, which we're going to get to in habit 3, is about climbing that ladder efficiently. Because think about it, you could be the most effective manager in the world, but if your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, every single step you take just gets you to the wrong place faster.
So how do you actually do this? The practical application here is to create a personal mission statement. Now, this isn't some fluffy corporate jargon. This is your personal constitution. It's a written standard that becomes the filter for every single decision you make. When a new business opportunity comes along, you ask, does this align with my mission? When you decide how to invest your money, does it serve your ultimate goals? You identify your key life roles, entrepreneur, investor, leader, spouse, parent, and you set goals for each one. This ensures you are building the life you truly want by your own design.
All right, let's keep building. If habit 1 says you are the programmer and habit 2 is write the program, well then habit 3 is run the program. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the habit of personal management. It's the discipline, day in and day out, of executing on your vision. It's all about translating your mission into daily action and focusing on what is truly important, not just what's screaming for your attention right now.
And Covey's time management matrix shows us exactly where to focus. See, most people live in quadrant I, constantly fighting fires and managing crises. Or they're stuck down in quadrant 3, dealing with other people's priorities and endless interruptions. But highly effective people, the strategic investors of their time, they live in quadrant 2. These are the important but not urgent tasks. This is where you do your strategic planning, you build relationships, you learn new skills, you prevent problems before they start. By living in quadrant 2, you actually shrink quadrant I. You have fewer crises because you saw them coming and planned ahead.
And here's the crucial part. To live in that powerful quadrant 2, you have to be proactive. See, quadrant I and 3 activities, they act on you. You have to act on quadrant 2. And that means you have to learn to say no. It means saying no to all those urgent but unimportant things that pop up. The only way you'll ever have the strength to say no to the good stuff is if you have a bigger yes, your personal mission, your end in mind, burning inside of you.
All right, so once you've achieved that private victory, you're proactive, you have a clear mission, and you execute on it day after day, you now have the foundation of character you need for the public victory. Now we shift from self-mastery to what you could call market mastery. These next 3 habits are all about interdependence, the simple reality that we can achieve so much more by working with others than we ever could alone.
But before we even get to those habits, we need to understand the currency of all relationships. Covey calls it the emotional bank account, and it's a perfect metaphor. Think of every relationship you have with a business partner, a client, your spouse, like a bank account. You make deposits through kindness, integrity, and keeping your promises. This builds a high balance of trust. So when you inevitably make a mistake, a withdrawal, that high balance can absorb it. But if you're constantly making withdrawals through disrespect or breaking promises, that account's going to be overdrawn. And in business, without trust, you have absolutely nothing.
So how do we make these deposits? Well, it's not complicated. It starts with truly trying to understand the other person first. It's about the little things, like simple kindness and courtesy. It's about keeping your commitments no matter what, clarifying expectations right at the beginning, and a big one, showing personal integrity, which means being loyal to people even when they're not in the room. These aren't just nice things to do. They are the absolute bedrock of high-trust relationships that make big things possible.
Okay, let's dive into habit 4, and this one starts with a fundamental belief about how the world works. On one side, you have the scarcity mentality. This sees life as a fixed pie. If you get a big slice, that means there's less for me. It's a zero-sum game, all about competition. But then there's the abundance mentality. This sees a world of infinite possibility. There is plenty out there for everybody. Success isn't about beating someone else, it's about creative cooperation. And this mindset is the foundation for everything that comes next. So, habit 4 is to think win-win. And look, this is not a technique, it's a total philosophy for how you interact with people. It's a deep commitment to finding solutions that are mutually beneficial for everyone involved. The most powerful expression of this is something called win-win or no deal. This basically means that if we can't find a solution that works for both of us, we agree to disagree agreeably and we just walk away. No deal. This is so liberating. It completely frees you from ever having to manipulate or pressure someone into a decision they're not happy with.
So the big question is, how do you actually get to these win-win solutions, especially when you've got major disagreements? Well, that brings us to habit 5, and this quote right here just cuts right to the heart of the matter. Most of us, we don't listen to understand. We listen while we're formulating our rebuttal in our head. Covey compares this to an optometrist who just gives you his own glasses without ever diagnosing your vision. Prescribing before you diagnose is malpractice, whether you're a doctor or you're just trying to solve a problem with another human being.
The skill here is what he calls empathic listening. This means you don't listen just to reply, you listen to truly understand. You give the other person what Covey calls psychological air by reflecting back what you hear, not just the words but the feeling behind them, until they feel deeply and completely heard. It's only then, once the real problem is finally on the table, that you can even begin to work on a win-win solution together. You have to diagnose before you prescribe.
And this all leads to the magic of habit 6, synergize. This is where 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or even 100. When you combine a win-win mindset with the skill of deep, empathic understanding, you don't just compromise. A compromise means 1 + 1 = 1.5. Everybody loses something. No, you create brand new solutions that are better than what anyone started with. It's the magic of creative cooperation, where valuing the differences in people's perspectives becomes your greatest strategic advantage.
All right, we have covered the habits of the private victory and the public victory. But this whole thing, it's not a one-and-done process. It's not a checklist. This brings us to the final and maybe the most important habit of all. It's the habit that makes all the others possible. It's what creates an upward spiral of continuous growth in your life.
And finally, habit 7, sharpen the saw. It's the habit of renewal. Imagine a woodcutter who's just too busy sawing to stop and sharpen his saw. He's going to become less and less effective until he can't cut at all. The same is true for us. You are your greatest asset, period. And you have to consistently invest in yourself across 4 key dimensions. Your physical health for energy, your mental health by reading and learning to stay sharp, your social and emotional connections, and your spiritual side, getting clear on your core purpose. This is not a luxury. This is the engine that powers all of your other success.
So when you put it all together, you can see the entire journey. We all begin life as dependent. The private victory of habits 1, 2, and 3 moves us to independence. We take ownership of our lives. But that's not the final destination. The highest level of maturity is interdependence, the public victory of habits 4, 5, and 6. It's the realization that, as capable as we might be on our own, we can achieve exponentially more by working synergistically with others. And habit 7, sharpen the saw, is the engine that drives this entire process, moving us along an upward spiral of learning, committing, and doing, over and over again.
So we end with this incredibly powerful question from Thoreau. So many people spend their entire lives just hacking at the leaves. They're addressing the symptoms of their problems with those quick-fix personality ethic techniques. The 7 habits challenge us. They challenge you to do something different. They challenge you to stop hacking at the leaves and to start striking at the root, at your character, your paradigms, your principles. The question isn't whether or not this works. We know it works. The real question is, are you willing to do the work? The choice is yours.